Marcus Conte reporting with an exclusive on the QAnon killer. I have a lot of information. I was in the court room today in Staten Island in St. George Criminal Court, and boy, did I see a lot. I saw the actual video confession of the QAnon killer. I saw the video was breathtaking. It was actually like about a 3-hour video, and they cut into this video of the interrogation where the detective grilled Anthony Comello, the shooter, about the murder of Franky Calli. Now, just to review, if you don't remember, Franky Calli was the undisputed boss of the Gambino crime family here in New York City. He's from Sicily. Gambino crime boss one day gets shot in front of his house by some crazy guy, allegedly crazy guy with a gun. And it turns out that there was no evidence that it was a mob hit, right? And then there became mounting evidence that it was in fact a guy. Anthony Comello was a guy down a online conspiracy rabbit hole, which sparked my initial investigation, my initial curiosity into online LARPing. All that LARPers, all chasing around all the LARPers. I haven't said much about it because there's really not much news to report until now. Right, so there I was. I sat in this courtroom, and like I said, if you want to review the story, I did like a dozen videos on it. I was at the court today, but it started raining, so I didn't film outside. But this is the big picture. You remember he showed up that first day in court with the QAnon. It was so mysterious, right? Because we hadn't heard his voice yet. But I heard his voice today in the courtroom, and I watched the video. That's what I want to tell you about, right? So there's a lot to it. And let me just jump in, and then I'll start to I'll fill it in with pictures. But if you're not aware, first of all, so this is Anthony Comello. Today he was in court, pretty much wearing the same suit. Probably only has one suit, same shirt. He was. They apparently let him shave, and he had a buzz kind of Staten Island haircut. You know, like a little Italian kid from Staten Island. Same lawyer. That's Robert Gottlieb. I've interviewed him a few times if you want to watch those videos. And this is who he shot. This is Franky Calli, one of the few shots that we have of him. And then there's this one of him exiting the funeral home. And but why did he do it? That's the whole thing, right? We still, to this day, don't have a motive. Why did Anthony Comello kill Franky Calli, the boss of the Gambino crime family? To this day, we still don't have a concise motive. And I sat in that courtroom today and I heard the video testimony of him while he was being grilled by the detectives. And I still didn't hear a solid motive. Why did you kill the guy? Right? So that's what we're going to talk about today. So let me get into this. So he was clean shaven. I'm just going to read from my notes because there's no video, there's no audio in the courtroom. So I'll just read off my notes and I'll stop and try to reflect what I saw and what I heard. So first of all, the lawyer's his approach, his plan of attack is innocent by way of mental defect. That's what Robert Gottlieb is trying to prove in court, that Comello is actually innocent by mental defect, that he's crazy. He's a crazy guy who was stuck down the QAnon rabbit hole. Specifically, that's what he had said when I interviewed him in front of the courthouse. I didn't hear any mention of Q today, but I'm gonna tell you I'll try to sum it up at the end. Like I said, so he's innocent by mental defect. He showed up clean shaven, same blue suit, same blue shirt. His brother and father were there. 4 people in attendance in all. 8 cops, one white shirt. Then at some point 2 white shirts. A lot of police in the room. He was handcuffed, not behind his back this time. When he came out, they handcuffed him to the chair. And 2 unarmed cops sat right behind him. So in other words, if he got up, they would just push him right back down. And so he wasn't going anywhere with two armed cops at the door, an armed cop sitting in front of the judge. It was pretty well. He was pretty well protected, and so was the judge. So Gottlieb, the attorney, had an extra assistant. First, the judge started with asking for a psych report, and he asked both the he asked the prosecutor and defense, do they have a psych evaluation yet? The answer was no, and that seemed to tick the judge off a little bit because he wanted that evaluation. So there was also talk about a video of another person, right? There was another person, apparently a female visitor who visited Franky Calli's house, and they had thought that there was some kind of connection to that. Was it his niece? There's news on the niece too. The whole story of his niece going there to ask to date the niece, total bullshit, absolute fucking bullshit story, right? And the cops said it, right? So there was a video of a female, which was no consequence to the story. Camillo's family was barred. Brother and father were asked to leave the courtroom because they may, in fact, be witnesses, because both of them spoke with Camillo the morning after he committed these crimes. Committed the crime. After he shot the guy, he talked to his brother and his father. So they're technically witnesses to the confession. But like I said, in the video that I watched, he confesses to shooting the guy. Indisputable. So the judge excused the father and the brother. Then the lead detective in this, Detective Guariano, young guy, 38 years old, Staten Island homicide, 15 years on the force, 120th precinct. Very, very convincing, very credible. Right? So Camillo kept speaking out of turn. He kept saying something loudly, trying to get the judge's attention, and the judge schooled him, said, the rules of my courtroom is if you speak out of turn, you're not going to be allowed to be in the courtroom. So that kind of simmered Camillo down a little bit, right? So what else? So on March 16th, the murder occurred in the car. From the time that Camillo was captured, the warrant was executed and he was captured. The detective traveled in the car with him to the interrogation room prior to reading him his rights. And in that, the detective testified that Camillo asked him, do you watch Fox News? Right? Out of nowhere, he just asked him, do you watch Fox News? And Camillo offered him that he has HIV. That we learned that for the first time today. That Camillo has HIV that he allegedly caught from a stripper, right? According to his own testimony, right? So he watches Fox News. He asked for a cigarette, and he requested this channel for some reason. He requested that the police put on, while he was in the car, 101.1. I don't know what it means, but WCBS FM here in New York, 101.1. It looks like New York's greatest hits. All right, so he asked for the radio to be changed, and the cops will do that for you because they're trying to get answers out of you. So they gave him a cigarette. He smoked his cigarette, and he got the channel of his choice. All right, so then they played the video, right? The interrogation video, and right away you hear Camillo start to speak, and I can tell you that I didn't see a junkie in front of me. I didn't see someone who was strung out on heroin, jonesing for heroin, none of those things, opiates. I didn't see a junkie. What he claimed to have been is that he was on HIV medication, powerful HIV medication that made him nauseous. And in the video, he actually threw up. He throws up in a garbage pail. So in that video, right away you hear Comello speak. And, the cop asked him, so what do you do? And he said, I'm a welder. And he said he's a freelance welder. He puts up beams in houses. People get in touch with him. I weld things. I got a certificate. I'm certified welder. That's what he tells the cop, right? And he says that he was a junkie 2 or 3 years ago. He got addicted to prescription medication after a dirt bike accident. All right, so that's how he says he never did illegal drugs. He never did heroin or smoked crack or any of that stuff. Well, no, he does confess to being high on coke and banging a stripper. That's how he caught AIDS, HIV, or whatever. That's what he says. So there's a couple of contradictions. First, he says he doesn't do illegal drugs, and then he later circles back and says that's how he caught HIV, by banging a hooker high on cocaine. So the cop asks him. He reads him his Miranda rights, your right to an attorney and all that stuff, and then the detective asks him, will you answer questions? And Comello says, yes, I'll answer questions. So all of the evidence on that video now becomes evidence. It's pretty much a done deal, right? So after the shooting, Comello drives his truck to Jersey, and the detective presented in the video a photograph of Comello outside of Franky Calli's house, right? He was outside his house, right? And then Comello later said, no, that couldn't have possibly been, like, the cop had tried to say that Comello was casing the house, and Comello said, not at all. No, it's impossible. So what Comello said is, I was smoking pot. Quote, these are quotes. I was smoking pot. I backed into his car because I thought I was in drive, but the car was in reverse, or vice versa. I'm paraphrasing because I was trying to grab it fast. But nonetheless, he's saying that he just, one day, there's actually 3 stories he gave. He gave 3 conflicting stories. This is the first one, and I'll tell you how it starts to change, the story, as the hours pass on inside that interrogation room. So first he says, I was on the block. I stopped on the block. I was just smoking pot. Right? I don't know who lives there. I don't know who this guy is. Right? That's what he said originally. He says he started, right? He backed into the guy's car, and then he went up to the door and knocked on it. And Comello says he started mouthing off to me about Franky Calli, the Gambino crime boss. I didn't know he says, I didn't know who he was until the next day. You're lucky I don't kill you right now, said Calli to Comello. You're lucky I don't kill you right now. And he asked him, are you high? Are you high? The mob is always like so protective. If you're high and you're a junkie, they'll kill you just for that. You're lucky I don't have you killed. That's what the Gambino guy said to Comello. That's what Comello was saying he said. Do you know who the fuck I am? You know who the fuck I am? That's Comello. That's Franky Calli saying that, right? And then the cop said point blank, you shot him, right? And he said, yeah, I shot him. Because I was fearful for my life. That's what Comello was trying to say. I was fearful for my life. The guy was threatening my life. He never said at any point, Comello never said at any point that Franky Calli had a gun. There was no testimony of the gun. All right, the cop kept asking Comello that, do you know anybody in his family? And he said, no, I don't know anybody. I don't know. Do you know his niece? He's like, no, fucking no. I don't know his niece. I don't know anybody, man. I don't know this guy. I don't know his niece. I got no affiliation with no mafias. I got no affiliation with no mafias. I know I'm fucked Now I'm hunted for the rest of my life, he said. I swear to God I wasn't sent there. I swear to God, because the cop kept asking him, did somebody send you to kill the Gambino crime boss? Was it a hit? Because that's what everybody speculated early on. Why would some crazy guy shoot the guy for no reason, right? So the cop kept asking, and Camillo kept saying, I swear to God I wasn't sent there. Nobody sent me there. Nobody sent me there. That's what he kept saying. I'm nobody's dog. I'm nobody's brat. I'm nobody's dog. I'm nobody's brat. He kept saying. He said, the cop asked him, are you friends with anybody in the mob? He said, it's Staten Island. You can't, it's just mob all over the place. Again, paraphrasing. He said, it's Staten Island. Of course, you got friends, their families are in the mob. Not my family. Nobody. I don't know any mob. I don't know any mafias. I kept saying that shit. Nobody in my family is in the mob. Nobody in my family is in the mob, he said. I'm stand up. How many times did you shoot? Oh, the cop asked him, how many times did you shoot the guy? Right? He says, I don't know. I don't know. The adrenaline was rushing. I don't know. I don't know how many times I shot him, which is consistent with a guy who's nervous. Usually they empty the gun, and that's what he did. He said, and the cop asked him, where'd you get the gun? Where'd you get the gun? Right? And he was just answering away. He said, I don't know. I had the gun. I had the gun for a long time. Cop asked him, what kind of gun? He says, you know what kind of gun it is. It's 9mm. Right? He said, he kept saying, my adrenaline was rushing. My adrenaline was rushing. Again, it's not consistent with in my view, it's just not consistent with a psychopath or a guy who is strung out on drugs. It just didn't seem consistent. He threw up, but maybe he was just nervous. He just confessed to a murder. Maybe it occurred to him that he had just confessed to shooting the guy. I don't know why he, well, maybe the medications he just took made him nauseous, right? And the cop asked him, what'd you do with the gun? He says, I got rid of the gun. Now, you remember when this great reporter, remember this guy right here? Remember this guy? Remember when I was walking around in his neighborhood and I told you what happened to the gun? Look at the timestamp. Look at the date. March 25th, right? March. Fucking 6 months ago. You remember when it just happened? March 16th? March 25th, I was walking around his neighborhood. I just got to give myself some credit. Listen to what I said. Just want to talk about, they never found the gun. You want to know where the gun is? I'll tell you where the gun is, right? If you were to where we are in Staten Island, again, you know where I am. If you Google it, you'll find me, right? And you were traveling to New Jersey, you would cross the outer bridge, 440. So if you want to find the gun, that's where it is. He went over that bridge and he chucked the gun in the water. I don't know how you would dig the gun out of the water, but if you want to find that gun, he chucked that shit off the bridge. He either slowed down and flung it out the passenger window, or he made a full stop and threw it. That's where the gun is, if you want to find it. Is he right? Was I right? So there I was in the courtroom, and he said he got rid of the gun. And the cop asked him, "Did you throw it in the water?" The cop asked him that. He said, "You throw it in the water?" And he goes, "Yeah." He goes, first he says, "I got rid of the gun." He wouldn't answer. And then he said, "Yeah, I threw it in the water." Yeah. Right? And he threw it off the Goethals Bridge. There's two bridges. There's actually three ways out of Staten Island on the Jersey side. Bayonne Bridge, Goethals Bridge, Outer Bridge. I had said the Outer Bridge because he went to South Jersey. But he claims he went over the Goethals Bridge. Maybe he didn't know where he was going. Maybe he wasn't savvy enough to get around in Jersey. Nonetheless, in court, he said, "I threw it off the Goethals Bridge." That's a bullseye, right? I said it, man, because that's what you would do with the gun. You would cross over. What am I gonna do with this fucking gun? And and then the cop said, "Did you stop and throw it off the bridge, or did you fling it while you were driving?" And I said, "What did I say?" I said he flung it out the window. He opened the window, he slowed down, and he flung the gun out the window. And that's precisely what he said in that interrogation room. So I guess I get a point for that one, right? I had that shit right? What else did I get right? I got a lot of stuff right. So So then Gottlieb, the lawyer, had his chance at asking some questions to the detective who was still on the stand. So the detective was there answering questions, right? And he said that Camillo asked him, "Do you fish in the car?" While they were in the car, there was other things, something about fishing. I didn't really get that. He reiterated that after a night of doing coke, I brought a stripper home, and that's how I banged the stripper, and that's how I got HIV. The cop asked him, "Do you watch sports?" And Camillo said, "No, I don't watch sports. I just watch news." Right? And the cop kept asking him, "Do you in the video? What do you need? What can I do for you?" And he says, "I feel like I'm going to throw up." And I watched it. He was heaving, and Camillo heaved like he was throwing up for like what seemed like 10 minutes into a garbage pail, puke coming out. And then right after that, he was fine. It was very strange, right? It was a very strange thing to see on a video, the kid throwing up. But again, what I want to emphasize is that Camillo, throughout that video, was articulate, was not strung out on anything as far as this observer observed. They should make that video public because that was, it's an outstanding documentary. Right? He kept saying while he was throwing up, "I never felt like this before. I want to go to the hospital." And then there was a dispute over, the cop was trying to get him to keep talking. And he says, "Well, if you go to the hospital, I'll stay with you, and then we're going to come back here and we're going to do some more talking." And then at some point, Camillo said, "All right, let's just stay here and we'll talk." So he started to feel better. Right? Now, the second story, then as the video continued, he changed his story. He said he was being blackmailed because he has HIV, right? He asked the cop, "Have you ever heard of blackmail?" And the cop asked him, "Well, who blackmailed you? Who blackmailed you?" He blackmailed over what? He said, "Over what? Over I got HIV. Blackmail over being gay." Right? He said, "I'm not gay." Some shit like that, right? So the whole story started to change. I'm not ratting, so it doesn't matter. Right? He said that to the cop. "I'm not ratting, so it doesn't matter." So the story went from a mild-mannered guy smoking pot in front of someone's house, getting a little too high, banging in somebody's car, and they're coming, having an argument, an altercation in front of the guy's house over him hitting his car, and then shooting him because he thought he was going to get killed first. That was the initial story. Then it went to, "I got blackmailed because I got HIV." Right? And then he said to the cop, "Release me and let me go catch the hounds." Right? Now again, Camillo was, prior to this, was found in front of the Mayor de Blasio, Gracie Mansion in New York, where de Blasio lives, for trying to make a citizen's arrest on the mayor of New York City. He also tried to make a citizen's arrest at another city building, trying to arrest Adam Schiff and Maxine Waters. So there is a little bit of a psychological crackness there, but again, I didn't see it in the video. So, which leads to the problem of he's not crazy, right? He's not crazy in the sense of like he's a psycho, delusional, mental patient. You know what I'm saying? He's down the rabbit hole, which is what I've been saying the whole time, right? Right? Then he said he was gonna tip off Cali because organized crime had a hit on him. Right? That's why he went there. Right? And then the cop tried to frame him and gave him bad information, said, you tried to plan a trip to the Bahamas with Rosemary. Now that's the niece, right? That whole story about the niece is factually incorrect. The cop said it. I know I'm going long, but it just takes about that long to get it all out. The cop said that the whole story of Rosemary, the niece, that he was dating Rosemary, the niece, and he came there to ask permission to continue to date Rosemary, the niece, was factually incorrect. They had bad information. Right? That's what the cops said. So that story is off the table. And Camillo's like, who the fuck is Rosemary? Who the fuck is Rosemary? I don't know no Rosemary. Another name came out, Anthony Russo, 2011. There was some kind of mention, Camillo mentioned this guy, Anthony Russo, as being a gangster of some sort. I don't know. He also said, Camillo said, 2 or 3 years ago, I was a junkie. About his phone. His phone is in a copper bag, he said, and to avoid satellites. That's what he said. Then he said, the feds are watching us right now. They're always watching us. They're watching this right now. And then the cop said, the feds are not watching us. He said, yeah, you don't know that. They're watching us. So there he started to get paranoid. And here was the sentence that still leaves the door open to motive. He said, quote, they said you have to take care of it. They said you have to take care of it. He said, Camillo was saying that he was getting text messaged that you have to take care of it. What does that mean? Who? And the cop kept asking him, who? Who is telling you to take care of it? Right? And he said he microwaved his phone to get rid of it. So first he says the phone is in a copper bag, and then he says he microwaved the phone to destroy it. Things like, do I think it's okay for the feds to spy on people? This is not a democracy, he told the cop. The news is the enemy? The cop asked him. Yeah, CNN. It's the enemy. The Dem leaders do business with El Chapo. That was the drug lord. So then he said, Camillo said, he wanted to get a shot for HIV. It's a cure Donald Trump posted about. There's nothing on that, right? So, and then the QAnon picture, the picture of this picture right here, became topical, and the judge refused to. I saw the attorney try to submit this picture into evidence to tie in the QAnon phenomena, right? And the judge shot it down, said, "Oh, that's already in the public domain. We're not going to talk about that." So next court date is December 5 for the judge's decision to suppress evidence, December 5th, and they'll continue. So Marcus Conte reporting. What do I think about this? Right? So what I just want to sum it up. I know I'm already at 27 minutes. So sitting in that courtroom, the big question is why? The idea, the notion that Anthony Camillo did not shoot Franky Calli is off the table. They got the guy. He's the guy who shot the other guy. Right? No doubt about it. Unequivocal. You saw his own. They got a video of his own testimony saying, "I shot the guy, threw the gun off the Goethals Bridge." Right? So that's a done deal. But why did he do it is still sketchy. The first part of the story is he just happened to be smoking pot on his block, accidentally hit the car, and then shot the guy because he thought the guy was going to shoot him first. That doesn't seem credible. The next part of it was that he was told to do it through text messaging, right? That somebody texted him. Right? We still need to see, unequivocally, we need to see, because I didn't see it today. What websites was he visiting? Was he visiting the 8chan and the 4chan sites? Right? He made no reference in that interview to the QAnon connection in that video. Now, does that debunk the story? Does that debunk Camillo's connection to LARPville, to chasing, dragons, chasing falsehoods? No, it doesn't at all. It kind of exemplifies the fact that the second part of the story is more believable, that he was trying to cover, he's still trying to cover, it seems, for something. Now, is he innocent by reason of mental defect? Not in my opinion, not what I saw. I didn't see, I didn't see the overt mental illness. Now, if you want to if we're going to set precedents and say that going down the rabbit hole is mental illness, is mental defect, and then we have a different story. So this story, Marcus Conte reporting, I'll wrap it up, is that what I saw in that courtroom, nothing confirms that Camillo wasn't a QAnon conspirator. I'm in the high grass right now, so I'll end it here. I'll try to continue. I hope that was helpful. I threw a lot of stuff out there because it was a long day in the court, and that's what I saw. So we'll continue to follow this very, 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 very unusual story of a rabbit hole. Do the LARPs exist? Yes, they do. Are people persuaded to do ridiculous things out of blackmail? And of course, look at my LARP videos. Of course, that's precisely what these knuckleheads do, is they try to convince you of your own sanity. Right? Now, which LARPs, QAnon or what other LARPs was Anthony Camillo following? And that is the story. Marcus Conte reporting.